The Unhappy Hour on the new AmericanMedia.com.
Yeah.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello, everybody. About a week early, we are celebrating our 4-year anniversary here at the TNAM Radio Network at thenewamericanmedia.com and the Unhappy Hour. My name is Brian Engelman. I am your host. And if you listen closely, that is me playing the drums on that song. That is a tune recorded several years ago called Wait by a group called Twist of Nothing. And my brother on guitar. Good times. Lots of... Actually, many lineup changes in that band, Twist of Nothing. Several different lead singers. I don't know, 5 bass players. Man, we tried to keep that thing going. But anyway, I digress. Welcome, everybody. This is I guess we're back to our regularly scheduled time for the program. I don't know. I guess. Like, in theory, we should have launched right at 4 o'clock. But, this is internet radio. You go, when your guests are available, and it's fun and flexible that way. It's a double-edged sword. It's a little tricky sometimes to be the producer, the engineer, the radio host, the researcher, the website manager, the Facebook admin, one of the Facebook admins, one of the Facebook Twitter admin, or the Twitter admins. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. But yeah, it's been a long and interesting journey we've had over the past 4 years, and I want to encourage you to check things out in the various places we launch the material. That's what I'm explaining here, is that our times can fluctuate. We'll do a show on Saturday. We'll do a show on Sunday. We'll do Wednesday shows. For the NBA draft, we might do stuff. I'm sorry, NFL draft coming up this week, and then the NBA draft special, and then you know how it goes. So the way that you stay connected with us is you link up on Twitter and Facebook. We're going to send out the alerts, and just make sure that you're interacting with us, leaving comments from time to time, joining our conversation so that it pops up high on your news feed, or you can add us to a special list or ask to receive notifications from our Twitter page. So, easiest way, go to thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side, there are 3 things. Number 1, it says TNAM Radio, and there's a flag. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters, the New American Media. So you click on that. That's where you click play and you listen live when we launch. You need to know that, because you can participate and you can live tweet us, okay? So, moving on from that, underneath, there are 2 other things. It's our Facebook feed and our Twitter feed right on our homepage. You can subscribe, follow us, like us over there. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. That's American_media_. And you can also do a search on Facebook for The New American Media, with spaces in between and like that page. And also, finally, perhaps not insignificantly, our youtube.com/The New American Media page is something that's growing, and that is, in the 4 years that we've been doing this show, it is the sole source of donation-based activities that you can participate in if you want to give a little bit back. How do you do that on YouTube? You just let that advertisement play at the beginning. You just leave it there. Just let it play. We make like a penny or something. But they all start adding up after a few 100,000, and it helps offset the many thousands that it's cost us to do this show over the past 4 years. So definitely subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media. I think we might even make more if you click one of those links and visit one of the advertiser sites. But some big changes are coming your way. We have a 10-year plan to be the largest media company on the planet. We are entering year 4, and I think our beta test is just about ready. So we're going to try to take it a few steps forward for you. Moving forward. Actually, that's weird. I'm trying to enter... I see. Here's the thing. Being the producer, being the engineer, etc., it's interesting when you try to call somebody from your production line and it's just not working. So then you got to come up with things to talk about in the meantime. How do you do that? Let's see. Let's close this out. Wow, this is the weirdest thing. We've had Zak on this program for Lord knows how long. Okay, that's how we'll do it. Yeah, it's so interesting. the technology, different web browsers and different things need updated, and then their plugins crash, and then you got to update it, but you update it and it doesn't save it, and then you got to switch browsers. I won't bore you with the details because really it is boring. What I want to talk to you about is the NBA. I want to talk to you about the NBA. I want to bring in Zak Baris. He's a former NBA scout. He is a current NBA consultant, and we are following and tracking one of the most interesting stories in the history of sports. That is the career arc of LeBron James, and the fact that Cleveland has not celebrated a major championship with the Cavs, the Indians, or the Browns in more than 50 years, back to 1964. And this year, the Cavs are primed to make a run at it. I would say the Cavaliers have just as much of a shot as any other team in the NBA to win a title this year, fulfilling a promise, the return of the king. It's a very interesting story, so we're going to get Zach in the show, and we're going to talk about some of this stuff. At least in theory, if it decides to dial. There we go. That's how we do it.
Hey Brian, how you doing?
Living the dream, Zach. How you doing?
Good, man. Just tired.
Yeah, Lord Almighty. I mean, I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one. I am exhausted. It's just you reach one of those points, and it's just, all right, maybe a little extra battery recharging is necessary for this device. But I'm there too. But you know what? In a way, it's a good tired. You know, having to factor in, I got to find time to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. You know, that takes time. That's a whole new different level of intensity and constantly checking scores and trying to plan your entire week out in advance so that you can be home in front of a legitimate screen to take in every detail of the game. And I missed that over the past 4 years. Does it feel good to you, Zach, watching the Cavs play again in the playoffs?
It feels great. Honestly, it's very refreshing. It's been nice to go to playoff games that I actually care about.
It's been 4 years, hasn't it? I mean, regular season games when you're not...
Cavs, for the Cavs, I've been to multiple playoff games, though, in the time. I've been to multiple playoff games, though, in the last 4 years. Last year being the first, I didn't attend any. But the 3 years previous to that, I was at, Laker, Clipper, Bulls, Heat. I was at multiple playoff games.
What's the atmosphere? What is the atmosphere like over there at the Quicken Loans Arena?
It was fantastic. I mean, it wasn't like it was opening night, but it was good. It was very good. I mean, the fans were loud.
Huh.
I mean, I think it's just been tough for the fans to get into it. I mean, at the beginning, but I think Game 2 really set the tone. Game 1 too. I mean, it's exciting to be in that building. I have a feeling it's going to be great otherwise too. It felt great to sit there and watch playoff basketball, meaningful games where the basketball is hard fought. I mean, it's a physical game. The queue was rocking. I mean, complete sellout. It was nice. It really was.
But
it's been a complete sellout all year. I mean, a lot of the games it felt like playoff games, although the crowd in Game 2 was noticeably louder than Game 1.
I wonder why that is.
I will say the national anthem in Game 1, though. I mean, it felt like opening night because people didn't stop cheering during the national anthem. I mean, it was definitely a good time.
But you would say LeBron's first game back might have had more intensity than the first playoff game back.
Oh, there's not even a question. There was more intensity. I mean, the crowd in LeBron's first game back, I mean, they were all over the place. I mean, you'll see that crowd again come later in the playoffs. I mean, I think it was... Like
the NBA Finals. We're all expecting a trip to the Finals. Maybe the Eastern Conference Finals.
I'm expecting in the next round against the Bulls.
It's going to have to be. I mean, everybody's saying this is, no offense to the Hawks. You've had a great season, but everybody's kind of saying, so what? The best players on the best teams, they've been waiting, and they're in Chicago and Cleveland.
Well, let's go over this real quick. And
this
is something I never really, I always look back and I go, okay, those 2008 to 2009, 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010, Cavs should have won the championship. I keep looking back and saying that. But I think this Boston series has really, really changed my views on that. Looking back on it, the Cavaliers had one elite scorer back in that time. One, and it was LeBron. If LeBron had an off night or the rest of the team had an off night, they were not going to win. It just is what it is. Mo Williams cost them the Orlando series. There's no doubt about that. He played terrible. And now you look at it now. Kyrie Irving he did not play well last night.
No, not last night.
Kevin Love had an unbelievable. LeBron was fantastic, took over. Kevin Love was fantastic, and J.R. Smith was fantastic. Oh, and Tristan Thompson.
Tristan Thompson is
fantastic.
very unsung. He's playing a role of kind of enforcer down low, which you cannot
Tristan
ignore.
Thompson's earning every penny. I laughed when he turned down a $12 million deal, $12 million a year extension at the end of last season, or at the beginning of the season. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this kid? He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the idiot because Tristan's making every penny back and more on top of it.
And how's he
He's
doing
well
it?
worth it.
Explain to the people that aren't watching it as much.
He saved the Cavs literally in Game 2 and in Game 3 last night. He is a prolific offensive rebounder. What he was doing, someone laughed the other day. Someone was sitting behind me, Tristan put up 0 points. And I go, he arguably saved the Cavs, though. They may not have won that game without him.
It's like, how many points did Dennis Rodman have?
That's the thing is, Dennis Rodman, towards the end of his career, when he was with the Bulls, was getting 20-some-odd rebounds a night. He was starting, and he wasn't scoring points. He put up 2 a game.
And as soon as you ignore Tristan Thompson, that's when he makes eye contact with LeBron. He makes a spin move and gives a thunderous alley-oop monster dunk.
The thing is, he didn't need to score the other day. He was more valuable, rather than putting the ball back in the hoop, was resetting the shot clock to that 24 seconds, giving the ball back to LeBron or Kyrie the other day, and making them make the play. He's incredibly efficient lately. He's been fantastic.
Talk about Kevin Love, though, too, because Kevin Love, everybody's, he's been the Chris Bosh odd man out, trying to just drive a wedge between him and the team all season, just like they did with Bosh. Talk about what you're seeing Kevin Love in the first game, second game, into the third game.
Here's the thing. The first game, I think Kevin Love was very rusty in the beginning. They got him working later in the game. He played much better. Game 2, he wasn't great. Game 3, fantastic. He and LeBron were the players of that game. He looked fantastic in that game. He was draining threes. He was playing in the post early. They got him in there. He was, was wreaking havoc. And the Cavaliers, like I said, I'm not even being biased here. It'll sound like I am, but they could not buy a call in the first half of that game. I was screaming at the TV.
The energy is fantastic, though. To be able to carry this late in the season, hey, I hope we can scream at the TV.
It's great to sit there and watch playoff basketball and be able to want to tear your hair out.
As a Clevelander, whether it's the Browns or the Indians or the Cavs, we've been through this before. We've had amazing teams, and then you start getting closer. With every win, you get closer to the final win, and you just go, no, don't screw this up, don't screw this up. Which is, I think, what the mentality has to change in Cleveland and in Ohio in general, is that it has to be, they're going to find a way to screw this up versus we're going to get this done. That's what we do in Cleveland.
Well, that's how people are thinking now. You walk around town and people aren't going, how can we screw this up? It's now, okay, we're going to win this tonight. We're going to win. The confidence level in Cleveland has totally changed. LeBron has that swagger. LeBron's won. He has that winning mentality now. It's no longer, oh shit, can LeBron win it? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse my language, but it's not, whatever, LeBron can't win in Boston. We watched LeBron win in Boston a couple of times when he was with Miami. He can do it now. He did it last night. He got over the hump. He's able to do it. If this were a few years ago, I would have been worried as hell about LeBron getting a win in Boston because he couldn't do it. Even when we were a much better team, he couldn't do it. Now he can. Am I worried about the Bulls in the next round? Yeah, I'm worried about the Bulls in the next round. But am I nervous, biting my nails? Absolutely not. I think the Cavaliers are a team going in there with home court advantage. I think they're the better team. I think the Bulls, Thibodeau has nightmare matchup problems at the end of games. By leaving in Noah at the end of games, I don't think it matches up well with the Cavaliers, and I think the Cavaliers are going to dominate them late in the game. I think you'll see it early. I think you'll see it close early. It's been the same thing you've seen with Boston. The Cavaliers take over late. They do.
Is it just they wear them down? I remember when I played in high school football with the Brunswick Blue Devils, we were undefeated, and I think my junior year we played Cleveland St. Ignatius in the championship. And we were beating them at halftime. And they just wore us down. We had several of our best players going both ways, playing offense and defense. And by the third, fourth quarters, man, they just ran out of gas. I played special teams on that team. But is it similar to the Cavs? Just they're so deep, and they're just grinding
look at the
you.
Cavs. Not that they're so deep. It's their starting lineup has so much talent, and when you sit there,
that's what I mean. Not deep. It's just
the thing. If you get J.R. Smith on his A game, the Cavaliers are almost impossible to beat because not only are you guarding LeBron, you can't double team him because you got to stay on J.R. Smith, you got to stay on Kyrie Irving, and then all of a sudden he was open. If you notice on every possession, the Cavaliers aren't taking up very rarely do you see them taking contested shots other than LeBron. You know, Kyrie takes his contested shots, but he makes them most of the time. The Cavaliers very rarely take contested shots. They're always getting open looks, which is why they're so incredibly efficient on offense. And defensively, you don't want to be, you don't want to have to, they're in punch jumper, he's not going to back down. Smith is what we'd call an excellent defender. He's not going to back down. I mean, those are two of the best perimeter defenders. I would have never said coming from the Knicks that J.R. Smith would be one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I would have never said that. It's a whole other experience with the Cavaliers watching them than in New York.
I mean, do you think it's a no-brainer that these guys stay, the Kevin Love, the J.R. Smith?
J.R. Smith, no doubt. I think Kevin Love, yeah, too. I mean, here's the thing. If I'm Kevin Love, do I want to sit there and go to how many games the Lakers won this year? 20?
Very few.
Okay, let's say, he still doesn't put them in the playoffs in the West. They still need, he doesn't contribute for 25, 20. Don't forget, New Orleans is the A seed with 45 wins. They're only getting better. Who are the Lakers going to wind up with? Rondo, who's terrible.
Rondo is such a mess right now. What a mess in
Dallas.
Dallas.
John Rondo and Kevin Love to the current Lakers team, they're still 40-win team max, and Rondo stinks. I don't think he's any better than Jeremy Lin. So
what a screw-up he made.
If I'm Kevin Love and I don't care about winning, yeah, sure, I go to the Lakers, go home. Go back to where I played my college ball, go back to where I was born. Yeah, go ahead and do it. If you really don't care about winning, you care more about your statistics, go ahead and do it and turn down the extra money. I think winning plays a much bigger role than you think.
I think that it does.
And don't forget, you don't see anyone turning on LeBron. Everybody wants to play with LeBron, not get out of LeBron's hair.
Because explain the difference in the first go around.
So the first go around, LeBron hadn't won anything. He hadn't.
Unproven.
He had no championship. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when he teamed up with Wade and Bosh, you see all these guys want to take less than these guys like Shane Battier and Ray Allen. They acquired, they signed Birdman. They did a lot of things when they became they just became the team to beat for 2 out of 3 years, and they just got old. It wasn't really LeBron. It was Wade got old, and, he didn't play well in the final. But, everybody wants to play with LeBron now. We saw that this season when Kevin Love was getting a trade, he said, okay, yeah, I'd like to come to Cleveland. He could have frankly said straight up, I don't want to come to Cleveland. I want to hit free agency. I want to do what I want to do. I'm going back to the Lakers. He didn't do that. And don't forget, it's not the Kevin Durant scenario where Kevin Durant has openly been non-committal to Oklahoma City. He hasn't committed anything. He goes, I'm going to do what's best for me. I need to do that. Kevin Love has openly said, on the record, I believe it's 10 times, I'll be back next year.
Right.
So
he said the right things.
You don't see people screwing over LeBron. You just don't.
Forget about it. You don't do that. Yeah, it's totally different dynamic now that he's got some jewelry. Thankfully,
I think
Pat Riley
Kevin
helped
Love's
with
also
that.
enjoying winning right now. And if he gets a ring though this year and goes, okay, I kind of like this. It's kind of fun.
It's just the trick is this, everybody. He cannot go anywhere and make more money. He would make less money going anywhere else.
The one thing he can always do is this is the one thing with the cap changing is, I fully expect Kevin Love to take a 1-year deal with the Cavs next year. Fully expect it. A 1-year deal. With the rising cap coming in, the following year. I fully expect him to take a 1-year deal.
So the cap is not coming this offseason. It's coming another season down the road?
We shall see LeBron up for another 1-year deal.
Oh, that is so nerve-wracking. Can't you do a 7-year deal with a player? Well, I guess a player opt-out.
LeBron's not leaving anyway. It's not happening.
I know.
Despite what the New York Post says or whatever it was.
Good luck, guys. Like we said, they need him. He doesn't need them. But hey, let's do this. Let's bounce around a little bit here. Talk about the rest of the stuff going on in the first round series that we have. It's been interesting. Hawks they dodged a bullet. What do you make of the Hawks Nets with the Hawks up 2-0?
The Nets have been playing well. Darren Williams stinks, and the Nets actually have a decent point guard. They'd be winning the series, but they're not, and the Hawks are the better team. There's no doubt. But the Hawks have not been playing exceptionally well. Next series, if you look at it, basically going back to the Cavs-Boston series before you get into the other one, Boston is an incredibly physical basketball team. Incredibly physical. Brad Stevens has done a great job. It's funny, I was sitting behind his daughter and his father-in-law at the game the other day, and his wife and kid for game one. His daughter was beating the crap out of her grandpa, with one of those glow sticks, hitting him in the head with it nonstop.
What?
But yeah, I have a video of it.
All right, you gotta show me that. This is accidental, excitement.
No, it's not accidental. She was banging on his head. She was wearing a little 3 or 4 year old girl just hitting the stick on her grandpa's head.
Oh, that's
and
great.
that thing's got a battery in it. It couldn't have felt good. I mean, he got hit probably 150 times before he finally took it away from her.
That's the type of insider information
you're
going to get here on the Unhappy Hour.
Hit him because he kept turning around. He kept giving me crap about the Cavaliers. He's like, during game one, Boston was winning. He's like, oh, do you need a box of tissues?
Wow.
And finally, at the end of the game, I didn't realize who it was until the end of the game. And finally, I go and give him some tissues at the end of the game. I'm like, well, here you go. It's going to be a long series.
Nice move. So the scrappy Celtics, I mean, do you think they can take one, or it's going to be a sweep?
I think at this point, I think their game to take was game 3, and the Cavaliers were just too much. That's how I look at the Cavs. If they do swipe game 4, okay, the series is still over in 5. I tend to think the Cavaliers are going to beat them in 4, and I think they'll beat them pretty easily in 4.
Yeah.
It's got to be draining. The Celtics are sitting there trash talking after game 2, going, okay, the Cavaliers weren't that good. Well, if the Cavaliers weren't that good, you're still down 0-2. That just means you suck.
Make that 0-3. And speaking of down 0-3, Milwaukee Bucks, it took 2 overtimes for Chicago to take care of them at home. So, I mean, you look at the Cavs, yes, they didn't completely dominate and blow out the Celtics, but it sure as hell didn't take overtime like the Warriors or like the Bulls. So, I mean, what do you make of the Bulls and Bucks here?
I mean, Derrick Rose is playing well, but like I said, Chicago hasn't done anything that's impressed me too much to this point. Granted, I didn't really get to watch the game last night until towards the end. Other than Derrick Rose was very impressive, but like I said, I just don't like Thibodeau's rotations towards the end of games. He plays too big down the stretch, which won't allow them, and he's very, very stubborn in his ways, which I don't think will allow them to beat Cleveland in the following round.
So that might be the Achilles heel over there. Well, then, if that's the case, let's talk about your other favorite coach, Scott Brooks.
I don't dislike Thibodeau. Let me make that clear.
No, I think you just make a legitimate criticism about him overplaying his players, and that's something everybody in every corner of the media has latched onto, is paying attention to how he rotates or his lack of rotation and burning out his star players. That's not you saying it. That's any casual observer noticing that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a big difference. I mean, he is a good coach. He'll probably.
I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying he's a bad coach, because I do like him a lot more than Scott Brooks, and I personally think he's done a fantastic job with the Bulls. I really do.
But whereas Scott Brooks really screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've just been on Scott Brooks for a while, and now that he's got, who do you see as a good fit over there with the Thunder? Any names?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a name right now, Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, well, that made it easy to have a perfect segue.
If the Bulls lose to Cleveland in the second round, Thibodeau will be fired. I've been talking about this on the show now for a couple of weeks. Basically, I just have this gut feeling that he will be fired if they lose.
And part of the gut feeling is knowing that the Cavs are better than the Bulls and will win a series versus them.
More than that, yeah, but yes.
Yes, of course. What about Raptors Wizards then? Sticking with
the Raptors just surprised me how bad they are, but they're bad in the playoffs every year. It doesn't shock me, but my surprise is, the Wizards played some bad basketball. Bradley Beal wasn't fantastic down the stretch. He's been improved. John Wall looks good. I mean, honestly, I've not been watching a ton of that series either. But from what I've seen so far, is the Wizards look like the much better team, and they should be able to close this out in 4.
Yeah, it took overtime in the first game.
Kyle Lowry just hasn't been playing well.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of playing well, as we're recording this, Dallas is up by, 8 points over Houston.
11. We're up by 11.
I mean, go figure.
Make it 13.
Jeez, you're a couple seconds quicker than me. All right, over to the West, man. What do you make of Steph Curry in that circus shot that he made last night over 2 defenders?
That was one of the greatest endings I've ever seen in my life. It was a 20-point game, and I'm sitting there going, like, okay, this is over, it's over. But I'm like, but they could wind up winning this. You never know. It is the Warriors. but oh my God. And how did they not call a foul enough? I was literally blown away when Curry drained that shot. I was like, pinch me. That was unbelievable. It just reminded me, Anthony Davis and that Pelican team, it might have cost Monty Williams his job last night, unfortunately. But what I wanted to get to was, Tyrese Evans was terrible down the stretch. He's always in every game where they blow these huge leads. I'm not a Tyrese fan. But what I was going to get at, though, is, the Warriors they were resilient last night. It was a great coaching job by Steve Kerr. Get them back in the game. Golden State is a tough team. And, I was surprised that the Pelicans lost and blowing that lead. I really was.
I was surprised they blew it. I know the Warriors are talented, but, when you win a game like that, that's like a special kind of win. That's something that, marks your path toward maybe an NBA Finals type of season.
Yeah. That's like one of those games you're always going to sit there and remember. If you were actually watching it live, and I'm not seeing the SportsCenter highlights, if you were actually watching it live, it's one of those games I know that I'll sit there and be like, wow, I'll never forget that. That's up there with LeBron's shot against the Magic in Game 2.
Yes.
In 2009. That is up there with some of the most prolific games in NBA history. That's up there with some of the Jordan, I'll never forget when Jordan over the shot over Karl Malone. To seal the deal and beat the Jazz.
I remember very early on watching the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets in the playoffs. That was one of my first sports moments watching that. I believe that was a double overtime game? I'm trying to think back. 86? Anyway, got to look it up in front of me. But yeah, the Warriors really showed that they have something. But, Pelicans have a decent future. What do you think they need to do next year to take a step forward?
They need some work on their roster. Like I said, they're not built. They've got some good players, but like I said, they're just not built. What they should have done is they should have built a little more through the draft rather than going out and signing guys like Tyrese Evans and overpaying him, trading picks for Drew Holiday right off the bat, and going out there and re-signing Eric Gordon. They made some moves that I wouldn't have made.
And we'll see how that plays out, because when we went through it with LeBron. You try to win now versus building the right way.
That's the problem.
And then you get painted into a corner and you're stuck, and then they bounce, and it's like, well, okay, maybe they should pay attention. But what about over here, Battle of Texas, Mavericks, Rockets? It's a dumpster fire.
Houston should win this series with relative ease. I think Dallas will swipe one, maybe they'll swipe two. But Houston should win the series. Houston looks really good, and Josh Smith looks re-energized.
Yeah, Dwight Howard's playing decent, and Rajon Rondo is just a train wreck. He's out. Yeah, I know. For the rest of the, whether that's actually his back or his attitude, I don't think either of them care. It's just crazy just to think about how bad things went for him. And speaking of how bad things went, what about the Clippers having a chance and letting that slip through their fingertips? You can't let the Spurs do that to you. And now the Clippers are in a rough spot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do you see that one playing out over the rest?
That was a game I'll never forget, too. Watching DeAndre Jordan at the line at every freaking free throw. Then Chris Paul, J.J. Redick missing their shots. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm sitting there yelling at the TV. I'm like, this is so typical Clipper basketball. It doesn't get any more Clipper than that.
For a while, I guess I can't say I rooted for the Clippers, because the Cavaliers, since Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance, Craig Elo, all those guys, Hot Rod Williams, that's a team I've rooted for. But when I moved to LA, I was like, well, the Lakers are the biggest thing in town. I'm really tired of the fair weather fans that are Laker fans. How about the Clippers? So I've been to a few games. I kind of go Clippers. Why not? Whatever. In games that didn't count to me if they weren't playing the Cavs, but I don't know, something about this team and just the way Chris Paul carries himself. I've just never been a fan of the way he handles himself and he carries himself.
He always looks pissed.
He looks whiny pissed, and he looks petulant.
I know that look.
And people say LeBron, thinks he's never committed a foul in his career. Fine, I get it, and people call him a whiner too, but I don't know, just something even more above and beyond that with Chris Paul. I've just never really been a big fan. Spurs versus Clippers now. It's tied 1-1. The Clips lost their home court advantage. How do you see this one playing out? Do you think the Spurs are going to get them?
The Spurs will win it now. The Clippers had their opportunity to take up 2-0 and really come and win this series. But, you know, the thing is, San Antonio is not an easy team to beat, and you can't give them games like that. And that's just what they did.
Yeah, very
exactly what
Pelican-esque. Pelican-esque, I suppose.
And speaking of the hack of DeAndre Jordan thing, getting back to that, you know, the hack of Tristan thing, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Brad Stevens, it was just one horrible coaching move of the playoffs so far. You don't hack a guy who shoots almost 70% from the line. You hack a guy like DeAndre Jordan who shoots like 40%. It doesn't make sense. The strategy, you don't employ that strategy on Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is not a 30 or 40% free throw.
Yeah, but
sometimes he's not Dwight Howard.
Yeah, but sometimes you watch Tristan shoot. It's like it's the first time he's held a basketball.
There is, but there's a lot of times he drains both shots.
But you know what I'm saying though? Like, doesn't it literally look at like it's his first free throw of all time? Occasionally from Tristan, doesn't he switch hands? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
yes. It is hard to watch at the same time. Here's the thing: he's going to make. Let's say he makes 2 out of every 3 free throws. That's fine.
Right, you'll take it because
then these are getting 1.5 points per possession. That's above the norm.
And if you're doing 1 out of 3, then that changes things. Or
yeah,
1 out of 5.
Or 0 out of 3.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. He's making his shots, and that's what I didn't understand that ploy by Brad Stevens. I think it was a terrible coaching move that put his team in an early hole. You know, don't forget it stuck the Cavs in the bonus ultra early too, so they were getting to the line.
I just love that it's real basketball, but I still feel like the Cavs are holding back. Do you get that feeling?
I don't think you've seen the best of them yet.
And that is frightening. You think the Bulls like they're going to have to pull it out?
I think it's going to be different basketball against the Bulls. The Bulls are a team. They're a good defensive team. But like I said, at the same point, it is very tough to guard 4 guys that can shoot at once.
Yeah, and you know Noah's going to be throwing elbows down underneath. It'll be chippy. How do you think Mozgov is suited? Yeah, well, let's hope. That guy's a punk. That guy
there will be
really
multiple players. I'm not a Joakim Noah fan.
How do you think Mozgov is going to handle himself down there? Him and Tristan and maybe Kendrick Perkins. How do you see that playing out?
I don't think you're going to see Perkins getting. I'm surprised they didn't put in Perkins last night during all of that. I really was. I was really surprised Perkins didn't come in last night.
Because that's what he's here for.
For a nice hard foul.
Yes. Yes, and he doesn't need to be trying to decapitate somebody or kick them, in their junk or take out their eyes.
You'll see Perkins against the Bulls. Mark my word on that one against Joakim Noah.
Well, they damn well better. That's what we signed him for.
You'll see Perkins in.
Man, I don't know. If I say I hope so, that means we have to, which means maybe that's not a good spot to put ourselves in. But we know the type of punks that they are.
Elbow in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, but wrapping this up here, Grizzlies and Trailblazers.
Damian Lillard's been terrible. The Grizzlies are going to win that series.
So what is Lillard's deal? He was like the hottest thing out there a year ago.
That's the thing is when Lillard doesn't score, that's the difference between him and some other players. When he doesn't score, they don't win.
Different than what other players? Isn't that how it goes? If you don't score, you don't win?
No, there are nights when LeBron can't score, but he dishes off the ball and he can, that's the difference.
He can dish it off. He can get the rebounds. He can play good smothering defense, and you're impacting the game, even if the points aren't dropping.
Damian Lillard has virtually no impact in the game when he doesn't make shots, and Portland gets clobbered.
So probably a sweep over there then.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I don't know. I think it'll go 5. I think they'll swipe one. I think Portland will swipe one.
All right. Well, I mean, would you say this has been a really fun? Geez, when did the playoffs start? Is it a week ago? Are we unofficially a week or?
Yeah, it started last Sunday or last Saturday. The Cavs started last Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, and the Cavs are off for another day or two. How would you rate this year's first week of the playoffs?
I mean, there's been some great games, but I mean, don't forget every series seems to be 2-0 or 3-0.
Yeah, it'll probably tighten up a little bit more next series. Yeah, just sitting there in the 2 spot having to play the Chicago Bulls. It's like that might have been a really good conference final game as opposed to second round. But, whatever. All right, cool. Well, next week we have the NFL Draft. We might bring you in for a special show there. You have any quick comments on the Browns and or the Indians in this 30 seconds as we wrap things up, sir?
No, not really.
Perfect.
The Indians have been a huge disappointment.
Yeah, that's not perfect. But they've started off slow so many seasons. I'm just kind of used to it at this point. So hopefully they'll get their act together. Luckily, it's only a couple weeks. It's not too much to make up, but you don't want to dig yourself too big a hole this early in the season. And when you get that great pitching, man, get a couple of runs, help them out. I mean, we've had quite a few great pitching performances that have resulted in losses at the end of the day. So we just got to do better swinging the bat. So, all right, Zach. Here's to another fine week of basketball, the potential Cleveland Cavaliers sweep, and we shall plan on maybe, do this again next week if that works for you.
Perfect.
All right, well, have a good weekend. We will talk to you again soon, everybody. That's Zak Baris. If you're not following him on Twitter, you're a jerk. He's on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. That's ZBaris. All right. So now we're going to make a transition over here. We're going to bring somebody into the program, Justin King. We're going to make our transition away from sports and try to talk about things that matter. Does that work for you guys? Hopefully it does. Because what we're looking for is we want to try to make a little bit more sense of this world that we're living in. Just kind of have to. It's a weird one, especially when you start getting into geopolitics. It's very confusing. We're going to bring in Justin King, tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll launch our next show in a second here. Oh, where'd it go? Had it right in front of me. I'll tell you, being the producer is a fantastic thing when you're trying. Ideally these things will be printed out and in front of me, so that there's no way you could misplace something at the wrong moment. But anyway, Justin King, specializing in journalism and media relations, an investigative journalist and former security consultant. He writes regularly for the Anti-Media and Digital Journal. His work can be seen on hundreds of websites. He's an activist focusing on media relations, personal protection, operational security, and trial preparation. We're going to be talking about kind of some inner workings, peel back a couple layers of what's going on in our own wonderful government as we get entangled in foreign conflicts that, they connect to Mexico and that southern border, and it's in boats and everything that can get people over from Libya and Syria. And we're in Iraq, we're in Afghanistan, we got Russia around the corner, China's working on currency manipulation. It's a weird world, people, so occasionally let's peel back from the bread and circus, which is sports, and talk about some of these things. But, hey, I think balance is good, so go Cavaliers. Got the NFL draft next week, and we're excited, but we'll be right back on the other side. My name's Brian Engelman.
And this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the new American Media.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. There are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed, because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.